Are you ready? What?
Wow, it's like us to be like that, Andy.
Fashionably late, as I'm still on Vegas time, so that's true. That's why
you just came back from Vegas.
Just
yesterday.
got back from Vegas.
So U2 and the Sphere.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. I will be posting some pictures of Patreon and get you guys. I didn't bring my computer when I went out to Vegas. Yeah, awesome.
Something happened to your computer because would not take the audio through to Mark. It was not Mark's fault, guys.
No, Mark is here from Old Line, and he said he swears that Arch, his partner at Old Line, is going to think it was him. It was not. It was us.
No.
And everyone out there watching, they'll believe that because this is not the first time we've had our issues.
Everybody's
whatever.
Correct.
You know, I blame it on Todd. I apologize.
And BT's in the house. Brian Tracy.
What's up?
He knows we're usually screwed up like this.
This is how we have our best shows happen when we start.
Exactly.
Like this. So that means that's what we're heading towards tonight. So but anyway, so we're gonna bring Mark from Old Line up in a minute.
Yes.
Really happy to have him here. Great guys over there. Just good stuff, and we got some good whiskey.
Oh my god!
Actually, a lot of whiskey. Do you have the other bottles?
You may bring them all up.
Well, I mean, I want to show Mark a little bit of love here. What we got with all the
we've got
stuff.
We're gonna go over.
Let him go over, but bring out some other bottles.
Oh, bring out some other.
I just wanted to show. And this isn't my whole stash, by the way.
Well, this is the old sherry cask.
The old sherry.
That's the,
well, that's working well. Okay. That's good.
And that's the Madeira cask.
Madeira cask. Okay. No, that's keep going off. That's fantastic.
And there's the bottle and bond.
Bottle and bond.
Which...
Oh my god, this is awful.
Turn that down.
Single barrel. I'm actually starting to enjoy that now. That's fine. I'm not sure why it's doing
this
that.
Is the cast strength.
Cast strength. How many did I bring over? Good God.
I had 5 and you brought over. That's
my baby. We're gonna hold on to this one for you. So, and this isn't all of them, Mark. So if you're wondering, are we fans?
Armagnac?
Are we fans of Old Line? Yes. Yes.
Cognac.
Oh shit! I brought that too.
No, that's mine.
Oh, that's yours. So we got a lot of stuff.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And there's
8,
more
9,
at home.
10,
Got the old white label.
Should we drink them all tonight, guys?
No, we don't want to repeat what you did last week.
No, that's true.
So
don't need that. So yeah, we've got a bunch. We show that because one, yes, we're fans.
This is not just we have been wanting to have these guys on for a while just because of how much we enjoy their juice, man, because it's just good stuff, but they're good guys too. I mean, so this is gonna be a lot of fun tonight.
Yes.
Todd, anything else you want to rap about before we pull Mark?
Well, one thing I want to say to the chat is if you have questions for Mark, we'll try to get to him. Super chat will be definitely the way to get a question in.
And we're going to be giving away a lot of Old Line
We'll
tonight.
be giving away a full bottle of one of these, plus a bunch of samples. So you'll win a bunch of Old Line tonight. And we love that because, listen, I believe now you can order off of their website. I think they're like in 40-some states.
Mark will fill us in on all the good stuff. But, so it's going to be good. Those of us... or those of Patrons out there know we've preached about these guys for a lot, and they've started to jump on and like, yeah, these guys are great. So this is an exciting night for us.
Super exciting.
I am jet lagged and tired, so we'll see how that.
Well, there's only one cure for that, Andrew, and that's drinking.
It's but so without further ado, thank you for being patient. Thank you for being here. Our good friend, Mark McLaughlin from Old Line Spirits in Baltimore.
And the trombone.
And the trombone. Let me turn this crap off. We're just absolutely killing this.
There you go. Mark, how are you, buddy?
Good. I thought about stepping away from the camera for a sec there just to see if I could give you guys a little jolt. But
that would be funny. We go
there. There's Mark.
Or could you just pretend like you're frozen? That would be perfect. That would be perfect.
Unbelievable. It took a while. Hey, 50 already in here. That's great. Come join us. Yep. Come hang out. Hit the like button. Share it out with your friends. Tell them we got some good stuff going on tonight. We are super excited. But Mark, thank you for being here, man. We appreciate it.
I'm really glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, Mark, one of the things we love about Old Line is one you're in our backyard from Baltimore. But before we get into the expressions and start drinking, which I need to do real quick because We had some technical difficulties. Maybe you could tell everybody out there that is not familiar with the Old Line brand and history much better than us. Sort of where did Old Line come from? How did go back to the very beginning? Tell us how you and Arch started this brand and this whiskey company and where it is today, and just give them a little bit of backstory before we get into drinking all this great whiskey.
Spotlight on you, brother.
Yeah, well, appreciate it. Well, guys, thanks again for having me. Pumped to be here. So yeah, for Old Line. So as you guys mentioned, it's the founders of Old Line and me and my business partner Arch Watkins. And how he and I linked up was that we were in the Navy together. We used to fly together. We were Navy flight officers. So yeah, it was a ton of fun. It was we were the guy, Goose, essentially the guy with the weapon system, the navigator, the guy without the 20/20 vision to be the pilot. And did that for quite a while. We both loved it. We both got out of the service for different reasons, and ended up both moving to Baltimore. And I had a career in finance. He had a career in engineering, and we both kind of had this itch to do our own thing. We, both love whiskey. The whiskey market, especially bourbon at the time, was really just starting to come together and kind of really get excited. The craft bourbon market, I should say, is really starting to come together and get really exciting. So we jumped into it with both feet with the idea that we were going to start a distillery in Baltimore, where we live, that was going to produce bourbon and rye. And within about 4 or 5 days of quitting our civilian jobs, I was on a plane out to a distilling conference in Seattle in 2014 and bumped into a gentleman out there who was a veteran as well. He's a Vietnam veteran. And he and his buddy had this tiny little distillery about 90 minutes north of Seattle. And, whereas I came to the conference to basically meet people, shake hands, just figure out what step one was going to be in starting a distillery, he came for the opposite reason. They had this thing they had built that there was, a labor of love that was making this great whiskey. But one of the two gentlemen, Jim Caudill, was terminally ill. So his business partner and friend, Bob Stilnovich, came down to the conference. He was trying to find somebody like us, like newbies that wanted to get in the industry that maybe wanted a head start. And Bob and Jim were making this amazing American single malt whiskey. And at the time, I had never heard of an American single malt before. So I was actually disappointed when I first learned they weren't making bourbon or rye. Right. I put my hands on the product, and I fell in love with it. So Arch and I both did.
So it's a really good story because they correct me if I'm wrong. Read a little bit of the backstory, but the guys out in Seattle were determined they were going to teach you that craft to precision before they let you run back with it in Baltimore. And so you guys came back not a novice. You guys knew what you were doing when you came back to Charm City.
We did, yeah. So with the way that was enormous. I didn't realize at the time. And we know now, having lived this industry for 10 years, that, before I started this venture, I would have thought, hey, I can go to another distillery and say, hey, I'll give you free labor. I want to learn. And I didn't realize that's a big ask, even for free of a distiller, because there's we're all small business people trying to do things, and taking somebody under your wing and teaching them is really a big investment and really hard to do. So the fact that Bob was willing to do that, we were thrilled.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We lived in his guest house on this. Bob had this property in Northwest Washington State that was on a cliff looking over northern Puget Sound. The distillery was in basically an old barn. It was a 60-gallon copper pot still made in Kentucky somewhere. Arch would remember the name of the guy who made it. It looks like a copper lava lamp, and it was open flame heated on like a propane flame. It was really dangerous. It was great. And the cool thing there's a lot of cool things about those guys, but one of the coolest things to me is that they kind of stumbled across this American single malt thing, not because they, did market research and said, hey, we think this is going to be a thing, and we're going to put our money there to grow, which would have been great. But cooler to me is that they just said, we're going to make whiskey we like to drink. And they loved, malt whiskey, and they loved aging in virgin oak. And they just said, we'll just do that. So they just did what they loved and ended up being one of the first few distilleries in the U.S. making single malt.
Well, you guys, we're grateful you're in our backyard.
Yep.
Brian Treacy was here, and his relationship with Sagamore, what a good guy he is. It's great to see this whiskey revival in Maryland and Baltimore.
Yes.
I think it's awesome.
How important that is to you? You're being from Baltimore. You have people think of whiskey in Maryland. They think of Sagamore. It's the biggest brand, but I mean, you're a big part of this area, and you're growing. Is that important for you to be your roots, your Old Line, that's the state moniker for Maryland? How important is it that you're rooted in Maryland and growing this community?
It's hugely important to us, and we've been just thrilled with the community of distilleries that we have here in Maryland. Is amazing. You know, we get along with everybody. People are very quick to give each other help. We do compete against one another, but it's a friendly, competition. No one's out to get you, and Brian is a great example. Brian is one of Arch and I's best friends.
Yeah.
And Sagamore is probably our biggest competitor in market, and that didn't matter, right? They've helped us out so many times. Brian has helped us out, and we tried to do the same when we could. And it's just everybody's looking out for each other and really trying to make the whole state kind of grow. And the fact that you have Sagamore really leading the charge, right, on kind of reviving Maryland rye. Mm-hmm. And you have, just looking at the city, you have Baltimore Spirits Company. Yep. They're awesome, and they're doing rye in a little bit different way with more malted rye, and that's awesome. And you have us, and you have Louthan Distilling doing, bourbon, which is their really small distillery up in Lauraville. So it's just cool. Even in the city, we're all doing our own thing in different parts of the city, different types of whiskey. Yep. And it's been a great community to be part of. So yeah, it's awesome.
Nah, Brian said Old Line makes amazing whiskey as a must-have in your collection. I couldn't agree more. Just great stuff. Real sidebar, Brian, since you're out there, I was telling Todd that I went to the Sphere to see U2 this weekend. It was pretty awesome. Yeah. The Dead is coming. They're going to do a residency. Yeah, and I know you're a big Dead. I know Brian Tracy's going to be there. You need to go out there and check it out, because it's pretty badass. I got to tell you.
You might take him out there just to go back out.
Hell yeah. I mean, shoot. And you want to talk about trippy. I mean, if you go to the Dead, it's going to be that's going to be really trippy. All right, so sidebar.
Yes.
But so quick story for you, Mark. I literally my whiskey of the year 2 years ago, and I went to the guys from Drug City and Allview.
Very well, yeah.
And George, good guys. I saw George. I met him.
Have it over there.
Down below. Oh, yeah, here. I went in and I introduced myself and told him about
two years ago,
maybe 2 years ago. I don't know. At this point, I told him, I said, look, I'm looking. I don't have anything in particular, but I hear you guys have great single barrels. Like, give me your best. That's all I want. I don't care what it is. And I'm looking, and there's just a million.
Not single malt, single barrel.
That's single barrel. Yeah,
they do. Okay.
And he said, try the Old Line. I was like, Old Line. I was like, all right, I know they do single malt whiskey. I think I've had a pour before it was good, but I mean, I wasn't expecting him to say that. It's just because I didn't know Old Line that well yet. He said, trust me. So I picked up the port. This is the port. 100, I think 24 proof, if I'm not mistaken. Went home and I poured it, and we had a show later that night. I said, Todd, I'm telling people tonight that if they don't get their ass out and buy this now, I'm going to go back and buy 6 more tomorrow. I kid you not. And I went back and I bought, I think this is maybe bottle 5 or something like that. I crushed it.
Mark, you would not stop talking about this thing.
And I started preaching it all over to our viewers. Like, guys, it's really, really good. And George goes, dude, we finally we sold out that thing. And he goes, people came in and bought it. I was like, it's amazing. It was so good. And it started me on this path with not just American single malt, but with Old Line. Like, well, what else they got? So I picked up the cast strength. And I picked the next thing you know, my wife's like, what the hell is this Old Line? Why is there so many bottles in the house?
So let's talk about that. Let's what your core offerings. If you can go to your website now, Mark, and you can ship and order from Old Line. No matter, because there's a question from Major Zero. We gave a guy super chats if you want to get a question in. Plus, you're gonna win a bunch of Old Line. We have a whole bottle to give away tonight, plus a bunch of samples. Any plans to come to West Tennessee? Now the question here is, Major Zero, if you're in West Tennessee, I believe you could. I don't know. Do you ship to Tennessee? Is that a state?
I am almost certain it is. I'd have to look for the 10 that we can't, but I believe Tennessee is one we can.
Okay.
And yeah, to your point, that's the best way to get it in Tennessee and in most states that we're not actively selling in, just because, as you guys know, the time and resources and money required to open up 50 states is much more than we as a small company can do. So for states we haven't gotten to yet, that's the best way to access it. Absolutely.
And what states are you in? So say for some reason you don't want to ship it online. Are you outside of the Maryland area? Can you find in any other states?
Or if you're in 40, what states aren't you in?
I think he had
well, the ones that we actively are distributed in will be outside of Maryland, DC, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, and Massachusetts.
Okay.
And then as far as the states that we cannot ship to, I could probably think of some of them. I know Hawaii is one.
Alaska probably one. We don't have any fans.
It should be coming quicker to me, but I'm having a brain.
That's right.
But yeah, but on top of that, you go to our site and it'll immediately say, here's where we can ship. Here's where we can't.
And I think that's great because again, when you say your old line core offerings, what would they be? So you've got your regular. We have two, I think, the bottle and bond being one of them, and then this Navy, 114. Is that a core offering now, or is that something that's just still special? I see it a lot. So
it is. So yeah, a couple of years. I'll try not to go too long with this, but actually, I'll take a quick step back. So we have on the old line, we focus on American single malt whiskey, as you guys kind of led with. We also do have a couple other categories that we produce. We have a really nice barrel aged rum from the Dominican Republic that we import. It's our own import to the U.S. and some of it gets further aged in our malt barrels, some of it doesn't. And we also do some vodka. So there's different categories that we work with. So within the ASM category, which is really 90%, 95% of our effort, is realize that's kind of what the company's built around.
Yeah.
The core offerings are the white label 95 that you have there on screen and the blue label Navy strength. Our old blue label used to be a cask strength, which we decided a year and a half or 2 years ago, as our company was growing, we were getting more and more aged stock available. We were kind of hitting what we define as basically kind of our forever profile. Like we kind of phased away from some of the smaller barrels. We had really good 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old juice that we could put together a really nice product with that we really love. Yeah. So when we reached that point, we also took the opportunity to freshen up the brand a little bit. And in doing so, we changed some proofs. We kind of did it all at once, so it wasn't confusing to the customer to have one thing done and 6 months later something else. So all that is to say that our 86 proof white label became a 95 proof.
Yes.
Cask strength 124-ish, depending on the batch, came down to 114. But that left us room for the cask strength now is actually a black bottle. I think you have one in there, which is our cask strength now is a single barrel cask strength. So,
awesome.
That's the old one.
That's the old one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. The black label.
I even have the old 86 white label at home too. I got that as well. So I got some old stock too.
Oh, I love it. That's a great whiskey. It's a wonderful.
But I will say this, Mark. One of the things that I was immediately drawn to what you do, yes, there's core offerings, but when Andy started, it started with the port, and then we saw all these other finishes that you're doing with your single malts. Help us understand. Like, is that something you guys are really hanging your hat on? I mean, we have cognac, we have Madeira, we have port. It goes on and on. Is that something where you've decided that we're going to find interesting finishes and we're really going to see what works and go with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we started doing our first finish was an Oloroso sherry. That was 2018, I believe. And since then, we've kind of opened the aperture up, so to speak, where we have access to via a barrel broker to wonderful barrels. So we'll get, for basically probably 2020, 2021, we actually got a bunch of different barrels that we had never tried before. So we got into Madeira and Sauterne and a few other things like that. And the idea was to figure out which ones not only had the best flavor profile for our products, but also which ones were the most commercially viable, frankly. So, a good example is Sauterne. That's one of our best finishes as far as profile, I think. But it's a little, not as many people know what Sauterne is, right? So whether that's something that we continue to do regularly or just do once in a while, that's kind of those things we were figuring out. So we're kind of narrowing the aperture a little bit to saying the ones that we think are really going to be finishes that we keep, if not in the rotation all the time, then as much as we can. And that'll be definitely sherry, definitely Madeira, definitely some sort of port. And then others will probably be, a little bit come and go. And then what that leads into next is a territory that we haven't really delved into in a meaningful way at all yet is blending. We blend internally and mess around with stuff, and we're trying to get more disciplined about it. But there's these finishing barrels that maybe as a standalone finish won't be something that go to market, can be wonderful components to certain blends, which is, down the line for us to
That's great. That's fantastic news.
And P.S. if you like rum, the rum is really good.
Yeah.
I not that I have all these old line stories, but when I went to Fishball,
seems like you do.
Another syndicate store that you guys were dealing with, I glanced too quick at the bottle and I saw old line and saw rum and said, "Oh, they did a rum finish." I was like, "That's great." So I grabbed the guy. I was like, "Dude, you got to pour me that." And I tasted. I was like, "Holy hell, this is sweet, but man, this is good." It's like, "This almost tastes like a rum." He goes, "It is a rum," and I was like, "Well, it's damn good," because I'm not a big rum guy. And I loved it.
It was a rum.
So I was like,
it was actually a rum.
That's really good. All right, what are you sipping on? We just poured some.
Let's set this up. This weekend you have a new release, which we're super excited about having tonight, which is your sherry finish, but this time it's a little bit different than I think. And Andy has, you said the Oloroso was the first one. Is that what we have here? Andy has an old, that would be the Oloroso, correct?
Correct. Yeah, because every sherry we've done before the release of this week has always been Oloroso. So yeah, the only PX we've done is the one coming out now.
And that comes out this. So tell us a little bit about this one. What, I mean, we can read the label, but tell us a little bit about this one. How is it? And we've got them actually poured side by side to see how different they really are. That's going to be fun.
Nice. Yeah. So, well, to your point, I mean, right, and for people who are watching, it's not going to be easy to see because they have the bottle in their hands, but all the details are on the back, which is nice. So anybody who does pick up double oak at the store can see kind of all the pedigree of what's in the bottle. But to your question, for those watching right now. Oloroso sherry, I'm sure many of you know, some of you might not. There's 7 or 8 different varietals of sherry, and they range from dry to medium dry to sweet. Oloroso is going to fall right in the middle. So for me, Oloroso tends to be, a little bit nutty, moderate sweetness, a little bit of fruitiness. It's a really, really nice sherry, and those flavors really translate well to a malt whiskey. PX sherry is short for Pedro Jimenez, which is one of the sweeter, if not the sweetest varietals. So to me, that's almost like a halfway between like an Oloroso sherry and like a tawny port. If I had to pick like a really kind of clumsy description.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think it's not quite as much of a fruit bomb as a port can be. The fruit is just really balanced, really nice sweetness, and it's just sometimes this finish sometimes tastes to me almost like holiday fruitcake, which just nuts and fruit and sweet and rich malty kind of caramelly flavors. So it's wonderful. So this Pedro Jimenez, this is our one of the ones that I'm most pleased with. I just think it was a great.
Yeah, they're both fantastic. The first thing I get is the viscosity on this. At 100 proof, this is like super. I mean, like it's silky on the tongue.
Yeah.
How full bodied this is.
Agreed.
On both of them, and I'm trying to go back and forth.
I haven't tried the Jimenez yet.
Well, I when I got home, Mark, I picked up the bottle from Mark this afternoon, and it's sitting. I went back to work, and I got home. I was like, "Well, I'm not going to open it and drink it, while I'm grilling."
He doesn't have
dinner.
self-control,
so I had to let it open up. I loved it. I quickly texted Mark and said, "Mark, wow!" And so I'll let you go before I buy a shoe, but I love this so much because it's almost like a syrupy candy. It's not cloyingly sweet. You get like toffee, molasses.
What did you say before you what me? What was that word?
Cloyingly sweet.
No, before that. Before I what? Did you use a big word again?
Bias you.
Oh, bias. Okay. Sometimes Todd drinks and uses big words.
I haven't drunk that much yet.
Like just wonder if you became with thesaurus yet.
But anyway, go ahead. You can go on yours.
All right. No, it's good.
I just absolutely love this finish. And it works so well with the single malt. I get some of that chocolate on the mid palate back end, even some baking spices too that finish it out. Again, 100 proof. I would think this was higher proof in a good way because of the viscosity and the finish on this.
I'm having some with you guys. I was drinking 95 before, so I'm jumping on this with you.
It's really good.
I mean, what do you? I mean, I get like that molassesly syrupy, that toffee, that chocolate. There is some fruit in there as well. You can tell it.
I definitely.
I mean, it's like a fruit candy almost, right?
There's some like a dark cherry note on that, which I really like a lot. I got to go back for one. Hold on.
It's like a lollipop.
A lollipop.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you.
Todd loves candy. So
I do.
He compares a lot to candy.
And again, it's not cloyingly sweet because the back end of it, you get some of that spice. You get some of the baking spices. It really, that chocolate comes through. It's like a dark chocolate too. It's not like a sweet chocolate. I love it. I love everything about this. Right?
It's really good.
I mean, you could do some major. I mean, it's 100 proof.
Keep talking.
No, Mark, what do you think? You must be pleased with it. I know I am, and I think Andy is. Hopefully, you're pleased with how it turned out as well.
We're thrilled with it. Arch and I both. Absolutely. And we're not ones to every release we have to say, "Oh, this is the best thing in the world." Look, we don't put anything out unless we feel that it's genuinely very good. But we have our favorites, right? So this is certainly competing to be in one of my top probably 3.
Well. If you can tell, I like the first Oloroso.
Yeah.
By how much is left here. There's not much. But this is fantastic. And they're very different. You're right. I like that. They're very different. But really good. I mean.
So how long were these in the actual, the PX sherry? How long did we talk about finishing time? Do we know that? Is it say on the bottle?
Right in the back there. So this was
read the bottle, Todd.
Yep.
Well, when it went into the so the original whiskey that went into the finishing barrel was a range of 4 to 6 year old, and then it was another year in the PX sherry cask.
Nice. Nice.
It's a good finish. And some of our finishes go longer. We've done it 18 months, 2 years, and sometimes shorter, but usually a year is our minimum, so I think we tend toward a little longer finish. And that's a result of a combination of factors. Quality clearly is a major factor. Sometimes it's operational. We simply can't pull something out due to not having the room for stainless steel to pull it out. So we tend longer finishes, and we've had really, really good success with that.
These two are wonderful.
Well, yeah, they are. And I think the great thing about this PX Sherry, again, I get that you mentioned their dark cherry. It's almost like a cherry with like dark chocolate covered cherry, right? That's what I get as well. And
I was going to say these. I heard you guys saying that. I'm like, yeah, chocolate covered cherry, 100%.
Yeah, and it's just so. I guess the word is decadent. And at 100 proof, if I was blinding this, I would have said it's, certainly finished, but higher proof because of how thick the mouthfeel is, so viscous. And the proof, the finish is rather nice and long. It holds on to you, which is great.
What I've always loved about Old Line is that there are people. Dude. I think we had a couple comments here. One person, it may have been Dave, said, "Are you going to be doing bourbons and ryes for us who aren't into American single malts?" And I know we can touch on that in a little bit. What I've loved about Old Line is that they're, for those of you who are not comfortable with American single malts or don't think you are, extremely approachable. I think they will appeal to bourbon and rye drinkers.
Wow, that's good.
And in a good way. Like they're still very complex, but they're beautiful, and they're great expressions of what American single malt whiskey can become. You guys are starting to get national pub. I mean, you just start to pull up magazines now for American single malt catalogers. Old Line's all over. Sorry. Woo.
He's so excited he sneezed.
So sneeze all over the place. But yeah, so I mean, it's really, you guys are not going to be small for long as far as the global scale. I mean, they're growing, and people are going to have to take notice because this stuff is really good. I'm going to come back in a minute.
There you go. So
I appreciate the comments. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, Todd.
Go ahead.
But no, I tell you, it's to the question. I forget the name of the gentleman who asked it, but yeah, are we going to do bourbons and ryes? Really, Dave, and Andy just led perfectly into it. Is that Arch and I, I don't know, at the beginning, for those of you who weren't there, we're saying we set out to make bourbon and rye originally. Yep. And because we love those categories, and we ended up stumbling across this opportunity to do single malt, and we've made that our path. So really, our take on this is, we're American guys, we're American whiskey guys, so we want to make a whiskey that appeals to us as people who came up as bourbon drinkers. So that's really, we're not trying to make a bourbon. We're trying to make a single malt whiskey that appeals and opens up this world to bourbon drinkers. So, and on the rye side, there's a slightly different answer to that, in that we actually are doing a tiny bit of rye. We have a collaboration with Monument City Brewing just down the street. They're awesome guys. They're here today. Yep. We took some of their 51 rye beer. We got the nice without the hops, and we've been for a few years now. So we're going to release a little bit of that in April.
You hear that? So they're taking Monument City 51 rye mash right into their the base without the hops, of course. So they're taking their wort and I guess combining it with your single malt or your rye. I guess a rye. What are they combining it with?
We're fermenting it here. To your point, that's just the wort, and fermenting it here. That's the wort. Rye whiskey.
And that's going to be the rye. So, guys, there it is. So that rye whiskey will be the first you produce this year. And it will be out later this summer, I guess? Or when are we looking for that, possibly?
We'll do our first release, a very limited release, in April of this year. And that'll be a little bit, I think, a 2.5-year-old at a 30-gallon barrel. So, but one of the beautiful things about rye, in my opinion, is that as wonderful as a long-aged rye is, you can have really great younger ryes too, I think. And absolutely. And it's high malt rye. It's 51% rye, 49% malted barley. So it's really just amazing. It gives us a way to do the rye thing in a way that ties into our kind of malt focus.
I love that. Great idea. Yeah. Cool.
See the innovative things too. That's what I like, and it's got a Baltimore tie to it. That's fantastic.
Well, what should we? So let's go real quick. I don't want to lose sight of this sherry finish, this PX sherry finish. This is this Saturday. If you're locally,
fantastic.
This will be available at the distillery, right? I mean, that's where you can go to get this.
It'll be at the distillery, and then it'll be we're releasing some cases in the market via our distributor. So, for all the usual suspects we've been mentioning tonight, the drug cities you all use, the Canton Cross. Places like that will all have access. I mean, it'll be open to everybody. Those guys will jump on it real quick.
Okay.
They should have it too. And
The
then
price, what's MSRP for this? This should be what should be?
we target $64.99 on the show.
There you go. God, Lord,
good
that's
deal,
a
too.
steal right there.
It's a good
It's
deal.
great. That is a great price point.
One thing is a shameless plug of so we're releasing it Saturday to the public. On Thursday, we're releasing it early to our quarterdeck whiskey club.
Yes.
Quarterdeck is a Navy term for the port, the kind of where you exit and enter the ship and are greeted. It's kind of a welcoming place. And so the quarterdeck whiskey club is our club here. And one of the benefits is when you join the club for free, we have these happy hours at the distillery every month. All you got to do is show up, for the free happy hour. I'm free to come, and you get a coin, like a military challenge coin. Now you're a full member, and you can use that coin to get access to early releases. You get discounts. So that for the quarterdeck whiskey club members who show up Thursday night, they get it a couple days early, and they get a little quarterdeck whiskey club discount. So it's a great club to join. To get that.
Cool. If somebody can put the info down there, it's easy to sign up. We both did it. It's very easy to sign up and get your name in there. So maybe somebody in the chat can put that for everyone to sign up. It's worth it. Very cool.
All right, so that's a great finished whiskey. Mark, let's go to. So we also have the Bottle and Bond. We have the 114. Let's drink something not finished. What do you suggest? We also have the single barrel you put out. I mean, what should we go with here next?
Well, what do you think we'll do? That'll help me figure out what I think we should do next.
Many as you want us to do.
Let's go with, if we have time, let's go with the 95, 114, and the Bottle and Bonds.
Do we even have the 90? We have. I don't know if we have the 95.
I don't know.
That's the one right there. Right?
No, this is the 100.
Oh, that's the Bottle and. Oh, okay, got it. Let's go. Okay, let's go Navy Strength in the blue, and then let's go with the Bottle and Bonds, and we'll take it from there.
Nice. All right.
So
I'm sorry, Mark. I was running out of hands. I have a lot more old lines.
No. I just couldn't see the color on the screen because I'm an old man. So
there's stars on the top of some and not on others. Is there a significance with that?
Significance is that there was a production issue and we had to get them without stars at a certain point. As far as on the top of the cap, you mean? Yeah. So we'd like to have it on there, but there was a production issue, so we had to get some shrink capsules that didn't have it.
I got a collector's item then. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. But the so one thing, as you guys are going, so the Navy Strength we kind of touched on a little earlier. We love cast strength like most whiskey people do, and we still have it. One of the reasons we did Navy Strength, there were actually three reasons, I guess. One reason was that Arch and I found that when we were drinking our cast strength at home or whatever, hanging out at work, almost always we were putting a little water in it or adding a cube to it, just seeing what it does and enjoying the change in flavor as the ice melts. And we kind of figured we're probably drinking this around the mid-1 teens anyway, and Navy guys, Navy strength's a thing, not really as common in whiskey. So from a branding perspective and from a place where we found ourselves drinking it anyway, but why not do that? And then the third reason, as I mentioned earlier, was we wanted to have a single barrel cast strength program, and this kind of cleared the way into that 120 plus proof for our single barrel cast strength program.
Got it. I will say though, proof points. We always say that 115, 120 usually is the sweet spot for us. I don't,
110, 115
is always around good. So I'm excited about this again.
Oh God, that smells great.
One other question though I have, Mark, is all of your finishes. Have you guys done like a stout finished barrel because I love single malts where you get that chocolate and then you add in that sort of chocolatiness from the stouts. Usually there's barrels you would get. Have you ever done anything like that?
You guys, it's like you have a mind reader. So we actually have 2 stout barrels in the warehouse right now. We did a really cool thing with Heavy Seas. They took our 2 of our empty single malt barrels and aged their chocolate volcano stout in it. And then we got back. I think they just released it the other day. It's probably still some out there.
I had that. I was over there. So one of our, not that side note, but we did a single barrel pick with Still Austin in Texas.
I saw that.
One of their bourbon. And we just did the rye pick this past week, but last year we did a bourbon and gave the barrel to Heavy Seas to put their 28th anniversary Belgian ale in, and they just released it at the Friday event, and we were there, and it was fantastic. So I tried that chocolate volcano, whatever it was, barrel aged. That was the old line. Yeah. So it was great. So you're getting that back, and you're going to be putting in
We've got it back. It's got whiskey in it right now, so it's been in there for I think 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
So I've already pulled it a couple times. Usually I let these things just sit, and I'm like, I'll check them in maybe 3 or 4 months to get a sense where it's going, and then maybe this one I've checked like 4 times. And it's there's a couple of fun angles here. Before I don't want to go on too long, but our distiller Jerry Rush, who's an awesome guy. I don't know if you met him here today when you popped in, Todd, but he's a awesome guy. He was the I want to say employee number 2 at before Heavy Seas when it was Clipper City. So he was the first or second brewer there.
That's
which
cool.
Was kind of cool that we had that kind of pedigree, and so he knows uses.
That's
and
great.
That's a cool connection there. And then those barrels that we got him. And I was saying earlier how like we're not the ones to always say everything we do is the best. We know that no one can do that. And I'm very critical of our finishes from the first early months. And I've kind of learned that if I try something when it's been in there 2-3 months, I'm probably gonna feel differently in another 3 or 4 months. So the stout, I've tried it and I think it's really good. It isn't my favorite. That said, I've had other people try it who are bananas for it.
Is it overly chocolate? Is it going like almost too chocolatey, like with the malted barley and the stout going together?
Well, how long did you say it's been?
3-4 months.
It's only 3 to 4 months. Those finishes, you get so much so quick, right? Because there's so much fresh liquid in there.
Yeah.
That it doesn't get really crazy chocolatey until it hits that 12-month mark. Anyway,
well, that's for beers, though. I don't know how it is for whiskey.
No, I would. That's true.
You know what I
That's
mean?
a
It's
good
the other
point.
way.
Yeah, it could be the other way around. I don't know. Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I would say that, it's what I like isn't always what people go crazy for either, right? So for me, I think the thing was that, I'm so used to the direction that we typically go with the wines, a little more fruit. That for me, probably it's just I was like, oh, this is very, very different. But everybody else seems to go bananas for it. So I'm curious to see where it lands. We had 2 barrels. We sold part of one to a nonprofit. So we gave them, obviously a really, really good price on it. So they're going to sell it and make money. And then we're going to release some of it in, I should know this, in a few months here in little 200 ml hip flask bottles as a part of our development program, which is when we have something that's coming along that's new to us. We'll kind of tease it out at barrel strength in little 200 ml bottles. It's got all the nerdy details on there. It's got a QR code to give us feedback. And
nice.
I wonder if you know anybody, Mark, that might want to
we
try
might
that.
want to try to do that.
I think that I think you're on the list. So
there you go. That's awesome.
That's very cool. Speaking of which, of the facility, we've both been out there. It's a cool place. I mean, you guys are in East Baltimore. Great facility, great outdoor space. So it's also a nice place to visit. Honestly, it's a cool facility.
Thank you.
You have events, every once in a while. I mean, it's right off 8. If you're in the Maryland area, I mean, literally is right off 895. You get on Lombard Street, and it's 2 lefts, and you're there.
It's over by Canton. It's nice.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's right over there. So, I mean, to me, if you're on 895, you go through the tunnel, or right before you get to the tunnel, you come off, and it's right there on Lombard, right off Lombard, and you got a nice, sort of courtyard, like Andy said, and do you plan to have more events there throughout the year, or how's that work? I guess the summertime is great for that, right?
Absolutely. Right now, we still have events now, but in the wintertime, because with the outdoor courtyard shut down and the warehouse, we have heaters and stuff like that to keep things a little bit warmer. But warehouse, it's not prime time for that yet. But once we have, March to April almost through December, the warehouse is very comfortable. Like the way that the warehouse kind of eventually starts to hold in the heat, it stays pretty warm in there through almost Christmas. So we get pretty active starting in March or April with events. One thing we do in several times a year is whiskey and oysters. So we bring in.
There you go.
It's exactly what it sounds like, and it's just a fun day. It's just something fun and different.
Yeah, we'll be at that too. Then.
Yes. Can we broadcast live from that and just eat oysters on camera?
Hell, I'd do that. Hey, do you like ours?
Yeah, most definitely.
All right, let's. So we are beer, bourbon, and rock and roll. Let's throw you a question here. Throw you off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You are working in the back, and you're making the perfect blends, trying to figure out what fish you're gonna do. What are you listening to? What music is going to get you inspired when you're back there?
Okay, well, the first question we'll listen to is whatever Jerry wants to listen to, because Jerry controls the music. So
Jerry,
that's the honest answer. So whatever Jerry wants.
You kick Jerry out.
Jerry's eclectic taste too, which is cool. But for me, I'd say I will never not want to listen to Dire Straits. There's never a mood that I'm in that Dire Straits doesn't work. whether I'm happy or sad or angry or quiet or what, making movies, that I can listen to that album over and over again and never get sick of it.
Yep.
Oh, I love hearing what people think. That's so cool. Dire Straits, right? I like Dire Straits. That's
Andy. If you had to listen to one artist other than Def Leppard, who would it be? Would it be Barry Manilow? By the way, Andy went to Vegas. He says he saw you too, but who else did you see out there, Andy?
I'm not embarrassed.
I know you're not.
I'm not
the
embarrassed.
Scary part about this.
I did see Barry Manilow.
He went and saw Barry Manilow.
I saw him at the West.
He went and saw Barry Manilow. Copacabana, guys.
Now, look, I grew up with my
God.
mom played that to nausea as a kid. I didn't even realize I was being like brainwashed with it. And then I got older, and she got me for my 18th birthday. She got me 3 CDs of his greatest hits and goes, "Here." I was like, "What the hell is this, Mom?" And she's like, "You might like it." And I put him in. I was like, "Oh shit, I know all the words to all these songs." He's fantastic. Dude's 80 and he sounded great. He's 80 years old. Yeah, I was the youngest one in there. It was fantastic.
And he's had no plastic surgery at all, I'm sure.
He looks, God rest her soul, kind of like my grandmother. So he really, but he sounds great.
Yeah.
But if I listen to somebody, I guess I would do.
What's up, Mike and Bourbon?
I might go Baltimore, man. I might go Kicks, Todd. I might go Kicks.
Band. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Locally, there you go. I like that. Getting back to this 114. I mean, what is, I guess, your best seller? I mean, I always try to ask that. I mean, I love sort of, your cask strength. I think that's one of, if not the best American single malts out there, but this is really nice as well. I'd like to compare this to the cask strength.
This is really good.
What is the cask strength your best seller, or?
No, I mean, volume wise, it's going to be the 95 proof, the white label. And that's really a function of, I mean, it's a wonderful whiskey, I think, but really that's going to be the one that's most accessible to bars and restaurants for price point and for cocktails.
Got it.
So that'll be, that drives a lot of the volume. But as far as if you take that out of it and put it just on the off-premise shelf when it comes to liquor stores, I'd say it's, of the white label and the blue label, the 95 114, probably 60-40 in favor of the white label. You get to accounts like, like a Drug City or an Allview or places where a lot of the really, serious whiskey shoppers hang out. Then you start to see the high proof stuff really start to take over. So it's going to depend on where.
Gotcha.
And then interestingly, like state by state, like we found New Jersey, which is not a huge market for us, but we do some stuff there. That's almost, it's like 55-45 high proof to low proof. That's a high proof market, I guess. So it's kind of weird how geographically the trends tend to be a little different.
Well, they listen to the Boss and Bon Jovi out there, so they want something a little bit stronger.
On this 114, I love the chocolate that comes through. You can tell that's that sort of malted barley, but man, you get some of that fruitiness that comes through as well. The nuttiness comes through, really nice. It's a sleigh ride on your tongue, Andy. There's so many things going on. Do
you think that's a good
sleigh ride on your tongue? I think
it's a stupid slogan. He's been trying to get this.
No one likes it but me.
No one likes it. He says it all the time.
Sleigh ride on your tongue.
I don't hate it, honestly.
You can be honest. I mean,
that's an honest. I was actually gonna say I'm Switzerland, but then I'm like, you know what? I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I love that.
I don't hate it means I don't love it. It's pretty stupid. That's all right. It's fine.
I really like this 114 is a fantastic proof point. Viscosity is there. I love that. Listen, for me, a single malt, I love when you can get that cacao note that comes through that chocolate. It's certainly there, but it's not the predominant note on this whiskey, which I love. You can get other things. And I think that, that sort of brown sugar comes through as well, that toffee. I love it. It's such a good whiskey. And viscous at 114. That's a great proof point. I love it. That's a great bot. What does this cost? The 114. What's that retail?
MSRP is $54.99.
Man, are you kidding me?
It's a good deal.
I mean, come on. Think about all the whiskeys we buy that are nowhere near as good as that. The proof is lower, and it costs somewhat $20, $30 more. I mean, there's a ton we could put in that can. That's $79 or less, and this beats a ton of whiskey right there. I mean, I'm not even talking about single malt. I'm just talking about whiskey. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is it's catching on. I mean, Old Line is starting. Their name is starting to be recognized more and more just outside the Maryland area. I don't know how many reviews, end of year reviews, they start talking about, American single malt categories, and you guys are always in the top 10.
Well, I'll never forget
it's coming.
Trev from what's Trev's channel name? Somebody can say it. Bourbon Wrench.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was in town for maybe the Madison Journey. I don't know. He was in town and he got an Old Line. I think he got the cask strength. Never had Old Line before. He's another whiskey tuber, and he made a video just talking about how this is blowing his mind as to the best. This is not only the best American single malt, but one of the best whiskeys he's had all year. He'd never had an Old Line. And I think once people try your product, especially the kind of whiskey nerds like us, they're going to be like, what? How do I not had this in my life before? I think it's a testament to what you guys are doing.
I appreciate that. It's a tough category. It's getting easier, but to your point, I think we have to fight a little bit harder and a little bit more to get recognized, because people don't know what the category is about. Yeah. So, but when we get those wins, they're very meaningful to us. They're enormously meaningful to us. And it's one person at a time. And we know we're not for everybody. There are people out there who won't like it. Of course there are, right? That's just the world that we live in. But I think there's a lot of people who assume that they won't like it because it's a single malt and are really blown away when they try it.
Man, I don't, well, to each his own, but I don't know how you can drink that as a whiskey fan and say, "Oh, that flavor profile is not for me."
I will say this: if you're on the fence with American single malts, I guarantee you, if you go taste through this portfolio, you will leave with something you like. I just think there is something for everyone.
Let's step down to the bottle and bond.
I don't know about that one.
No,
you got.
Oh yeah, that's right. You got one already open. I'm sorry.
There we go.
We might give that away, actually. There you go.
So, I mean, people want to super chat for something, we can help them out. I've had the bottle and bond spray too.
One of the thank you, and one of the reasons I suggest that we taste that is that so as we've kind of done our journey from the West Coast to Baltimore, we've ended up producing whiskey in two different places. So we have a still here that you guys have seen, our 300-gallon pot still, and we also work with Middle West Spirits out in Columbus, Ohio, and they're a wonderful partner.
Love that. Yeah, they put out great. I love their Wheater whiskey.
Good stuff.
It's fantastic.
Oh, and they're pumping up a rye, and I think we might be one of their first clients. They've been phenomenal partners. They make phenomenal whiskey. We've learned so much from them, and it's been an amazing experience. So, when we decided to do a bottle and bond, we decided to do it out of Baltimore for a couple of reasons. One, as an American single malt, unlike a bourbon or a rye, we can't take barrels that were distilled in two different locations and marry them together. That becomes something other than a single malt that runs afoul of the definition that's been proposed. So for us, we keep our Baltimore distilled stuff and our Ohio distilled stuff separate anyway. And so we took that opportunity to say, okay, well, we're distilling it here in a different environment with different water on a pot still, whereas out there we're doing a column and then a pot. So all these things are going to be a little bit different. And we also took the opportunity to say, hey, we've had a lot of success with 30-gallon barrels in our, as a company. Most of what we do is in traditional 53 ASBs, but to make the stuff in Baltimore just a little bit different, this is 30-gallon barrels. So you get a little more of the, maybe even a lot more of the caramel and the baking spice and things like that. So I wanted to showcase this as kind of just you can tell they're related and they're siblings, but you can tell that they're certainly different things.
Absolutely.
The nose on this, I think I might like the nose even better on the bottle and bond.
It's a really pretty pour. I had this right when I think you guys got ready to release this. I tasted that at Old Line, and I was blown away.
Snickers
by how good this is.
To me.
Mark, Todd, Joe writes for Todd's education.
I know,
explain to Todd. It's okay that you don't know.
Okay.
Can Mark explain the difference between a single malt and a bourbon?
I homebrew. I certainly know.
Don't be embarrassed.
I know it's malted barley. We brew with malted barley.
There are no dumb questions, Todd. It's okay. The question was for Mark.
So the difference between I'll say with American single malt and a bourbon, any single malt for that matter is only made from malted barley. So we don't have any wheat, any rye, any corn in our mash bill. It's only malted barley. Now there are different types of malted barley, which I can get into in a minute, but that's the only grain in it. And it's, as far as a single malt made in America versus Scotland versus Ireland and other places, the definitions will be a little bit different. But what we've done here in America is we being the industry of producers of American single malt have banded together into what's called the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission, which is designed to proactively give to the U.S. government and say, hey, here's what we think the definition should be, because we know that if we don't, the government's going to come in and do something kind of silly, and it's really going to be rough. So that's all on the 1 yard line of being complete. So what American single malt is defined as is 100% malted barley, made in America. It can be made on either a column still and or a pot still, unlike in Scotland where a single malt can only be on a pot still. And then we can age our whiskey in new or used oak. So unlike a bourbon where the requirement is to have, we have that requirement. Now we choose to do that at Old Line because we love that flavor, but we don't have to. And what I think that really does is, I think you're going to find as people explore and get to know American single malt more, the range of flavors that are available are astronomical, and that comes from two things. One, you can do new or used oak. That's a big one right there. But even more so, when you look at the malted barley, I mean, Todd, you're a home brewer. We use 90% pale malt, 10% crystal malt.
Well, I use row. Yeah.
And it's two rows great, and then the crystal deep kiln, deep roast malt that gives us all that cocoa character. And so just the way that grain is processed, to give you even a more tangible example, if you were to take a bite of our 2-row malt, for those of you who haven't tasted malt before, it'll taste kind of like a grape nut cereal. And then the darker malt, the C120, will taste like Raisin Bran flakes. And the only difference between those two is the way that they were processed before they came to us. So it just really gives such an amazing, really wide flavor profile that American single malts can kind of explore.
Love that.
And it's look, let's be honest too. I love bourbon. You love bourbon.
I love rye. You love rye.
Thank you.
I love American single malts. You love American single malts.
Todd. I'm going with this. Stop talking.
Okay.
For those, when you kind of get tired of just too much bourbon or too much rye, and you're looking for an alternative, but you're not a Scotch drinker, and there's a lot of us out there. Like, I'm not a big.
We're not
Scotch drinker.
We're not Scotch drinkers.
No, some Scotch we are enjoying as we're finding out more about the category.
True.
Peanut Scotch is what we're talking about.
That's
here.
true.
This is a really good foray into a world where you can get different flavor profiles that are absolutely fantastic, and kind of still get a little bit of what you're used to with a bourbon or a rye. But a different profile, and it's a great way to just kind of something different, and it's great. Like, this was my introduction into American single malts, and I mean, I have not turned back since.
I love this bottle and bond that we just cracked.
The bottle and bond is
I forgot how good that was.
It's beautiful.
I hate to say it, Mark, but I forgot how great that bottle and bond is.
That's Arch's favorite, I think.
That is, I mean, that hits all the. I mean, listen, it's not as big as the 114, but I think it drinks so beautifully, right? It's got all those same flavors. They're a little bit tamed down a little bit, but it's well balanced. I don't want to say smooth. It's well balanced. It makes you want to have another pour right away, and I love everything about that. It's got the same flavor profile, so to speak, but it's really beautiful. And Bourbon Bill is another whiskey tube channel who I love. And Bourbon Bill, I can't believe you have never tried Old Line.
That could change today.
I think, super chats, guys. We're giving away we're going to give away a full bottle of this bottle and bond, plus
is silly good,
a sample of their brand new sherry finish that is coming out this Saturday, and some whatever else. We have a lot.
We have 4 Old Line.
We have a lot.
Old Line
sample packs
tonight, which should be fun.
But Bill, you've got to try Old Line, especially if you're into single malts, American single malts, because I will challenge you to find a better producer of that, finished or unfinished. And that's the great thing. He was so Bill came to the Mash and Journey Summer Jam. He was too hungover. I think we all were, Bill. That is the problem with that. But next time, Bill, and I'll get you some. If you don't win the super chat giveaway, I'll figure out a way to get you some Old Line, because you need to review that on your channel for sure.
So if I can give Todd a run for his money with the sleigh ride and the tongue comment, because I think I may have one that might be that I think probably Arch won't say it, but I don't think he likes it, but he's very polite and lets me say it anyway. Is to the point that Andy made about, like, delivering to a bourbon drinker, rye drinker, a ton of what they already love, just in a different way. Like, I think of it in my mind as, like, I'm not a DJ, far from it, but you think of a DJ booth with all those different levers that make one thing go up and down and all that. All, like, for our American single malt and a bourbon, I feel like all those levers, they're all labeled the same way. They're just at different levels, right? So just delivering all the flavors that you're used to, just in a very different package, but still all there.
Yeah, that's much better than sleigh ride on the tongue. Just that whole thing.
And then it ends with a sleigh ride on your tongue.
Yeah, no, that sense. Yeah.
Well, that leads me to the other things we have here. Not to we're
going to get to my port eventually.
Yeah, can we talk about the port finish? I mean, I think we should talk to Mark about the port. It's your favorite.
It's one
of your favorite whiskeys you've ever had.
I have a question first, because are you a Ravens and Orioles fan, being a Baltimore guy?
So I'm from Boston originally, so I had to admit that I am a Pats Sox fan, but I also I root for the team that I live in, as long as it doesn't interfere with my hometown team.
Okay, so here's your question: is Joe Flacco elite?
I didn't say the last word. Is he what? I'm sorry.
Joe Flacco elite. I had to ask.
I think you had to say yes.
Oh my God, Mark, you've just started.
I mean, I don't know. I think objectively, I have to say yes. I mean, yeah.
See, there you go. That's perfect.
I got a quarterback option with elite sauce.
Elite sauce? That's me. I'm elite.
Where did that clip come from, by the way?
I don't know where I find it.
Oh my God.
That's
Gandy, thank you.
That's fantastic.
Another Patreon member. Thank you so much. You're in for the Old Line giveaway. Yes. Oh, sorry, Andy. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, that was for the super chat. There we go.
Super chat. And then we've got Saucy Shane, another great whiskey tuber. And he's in as well for 10. I need some Old Line. He's out in Tennessee. And then Mr. Great Shout in Texas. I'm in for,
As a Baltimore fan, the worst pain I think I've ever felt was the game when we, in the AFC Championship game.
Against your New England Patriots. Cundiff.
When
Lee Evans drops the ball.
Lee Evans drops that perfect pass from Joe right there for the game-winning touchdown. He drops it.
All right, we're going to tie the game. Don't worry. We'll tie it up. 38-yard field goal. Hooked it left.
Should have had 2 Super Bowls.
Anyway, I
digress.
All right, we're getting upset. Here's the question for you, Mark. Outside of, it's sort of whiskey. If you can't drink, say you're out somewhere and there's, for whatever reason, no Old Line around, what would you reach for? What is a whiskey that you also like outside of your brand? We always like asking our guests that because it kind of tells us sort of what else maybe they're into outside of their brand, because we know you drink a lot of whiskey other than
I mean, you mind if I hit a couple different categories with that?
Hell yes, do it.
Do it. Well, hey, we're in Baltimore. I'll start with rye. I'd say I love a lot of the rye in Maryland. I'd say Sagamore's Double Oak is one of my favorites.
Great pour.
And that's a great pour. On the American single malt side, there's a great distiller. There's a lot of great options out there. Locally, Virginia Distilling Company has a cuvee finish, which is wild. And then
a cuvee finish.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've had that a couple times. And then
a cuvee, I know it as just a blend. What is that? What is that finish then? I mean, like when I think of cuvee, different beers blended together, and that's your cuvee. What is? Do you know what that finish is?
That's a good point. It must have. I don't know if it was another blended barrel that was a blended barrel.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a good question. Actually, I know that I.
Okay. Cool.
Out of Santa Fe Spirits, out of New Mexico, they do some really cool stuff. A little more old.
You were out there.
Yeah, I got a chance to visit Santa Fe.
He was there.
It's a tiny little operation, but it's really that's some good stuff. Yeah.
JC, who's a Patreon member of ours, said you need Andy was there for work, and you stopped.
It was. I mean, first of all, it's a really cool town.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice little facility. I got to stop in the distillery, and they had some good stuff. They had some good fish too.
Bourbon side, my daily that I always have, usually hopefully 175, but is just Evan Williams bottled in a bond. That's what
you can't beat that, right? For the value, $17, $18.
And I say if I want something a little bit more adventurous and different, anything from Wilderness Trail is always going to be interesting.
Oh, there you go.
Good. I had that sound. If you like Wilderness Trail, I don't know if it's still there or not, but there's the Char King, I think is what they called it. Char something. I think Justin made. I don't know if he's hanging around, but it is a smoked Wilderness Trail.
Yeah, they're one of
it had Sasquatch on the side of it, but it's a single barrel they did.
Joe Gray's probably really good. Talked about. Yeah,
Char something, but it was really, really good. Yeah, they make some great stuff out there too. Yeah, very cool. All right, so switch gears. Beer. If you what beer would you drink? What's your?
Don't say Miller Lite or Bud Light, please.
I'd say locally. I mean, I love 51 Rye, and I'm not just saying that because we work so close.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
That's so good.
Never fails. So that's my kind of local probably go to. I'd say and this is going to be, they're two opposite ends of the spectrum, but two that I almost always have in my fridge are just Guinness Stout and Pilsner. And they're opposite in every way, but I never regret having those in my fridge.
So close to the Natty Bow, right there, overlooking by Old Line. Well,
I love the fact that you do. I know we have a pretty good relationship with Heavy Seas on the beer end. We also review beer, and I know they often. We were talking to Chris Leonard, the master brewer over there. He says he often gets some barrels from you to put some of their barrel aged stuff, and they don't do a lot. But I love the fact that you give them some barrels to put some stuff in, and then you get it back from them, and that's a great thing. I think it's perfect.
Absolutely. And then, loose cannon is never a bad choice either.
Never a bad choice. That's like the OG. It's like the OG for me.
And I will say that I think for me, to find a beer that is as consistent on tap as it is in the bottle, loose cannon I think does that. Other beers, even beers that I love, some I prefer on tap, and I kind of shy away from in the can or the bottle. Loose Cannon always delivers both ways.
I would agree. You know, the funny thing about Loose Cannon is one of those beers that it's been around so long you forget about it until you back and revisit it, and you're like, wow,
it was the
really
OG
good.
of
really
sort of
good.
that West Coast IPA, and it's just
but with German like hops and like
it's the
malt
West
backbone,
Coast.
it's really good.
So
Good
good.
malt base, yeah, agreed.
Yes. One thing I wanted to talk to you about, Mark, and I picked this up. I guess this is the Old Line single barrel that you guys released. I know you do this do you do it every now and then, or how often do you do sort of these single barrels of just your own? You know,
That's the which one is that? That's the first one we did, I think. So we've actually only done 2 of those. So that's we just started to do those as we've kind of made room in the portfolio for that single barrel cask strength. And it's going to become more regular. Right now, it hasn't kind of settled into a set rhythm yet. But the first one we did, the one in your hands, is finishes and all included. That is one of my favorite things we've ever done.
It was one of my favorite of last year as well. And I've stopped drinking it because I drank half the bottle very quickly. That being said, when you do single barrels for groups, like if we would come to you to do one for ours, are single barrels unfinished on the table, or is it just all finishes like whiskeys? I'm curious on that.
They're all on the table. We'll have for the finishes. We'll certainly have some considerations as far as we need to have some set aside for. We can only sell so much because we have releases coming up.
Yep.
No, really. I mean, if I had my preferred way to do things in general, I love doing an unfinished as I go. Hey, and then move on to a finish. But really, at the end of the day, I want people to get what they want. So really, it's all on the table.
I wish I could take the nose of this and just put it into a air freshener in my car. I'm telling you.
He always says in his car, which always blows me.
I'm in my car a lot, dude.
It's probably the last place you want a whiskey scented air freshener.
That's true. Officer, I promise you, it's the air freshener. It's not me.
One of the cool things on the second one we did was our whiskey club picked it. So we basically had, I forget how many samples we had. I think it was 4. And, I think we have at happy hours, we usually get 80 to 120, 130 people at these things. It's a great crowd of people. A lot of good friends come, and they voted and picked it overwhelmingly picked our number 2 barrel, which was not the barrel that I would have picked. So there you go. Like what I like isn't always what the people like, but
people are slave on their tongue.
Oh man, yeah. 120. What is this? 119.7 proof. 121.2 proof. I'm sorry. I love how you have all the stats. That's the other thing, guys.
When you want to talk about transparency. Some people don't like that about certain whiskey brands. I mean, you want transparency, you got it. Every last detail you can ask for is in the back of these bottles, which is really cool. And
it's simpler that way. And who wants to hear a flowery language, on the back? But no one cares about that, but they do care about this.
I mean, it tells you basically everything about it,
which I think is great.
The mash bill, the distillation, the barrel, basically what it was, the aging climate, right? 4 summers and 5 winters.
It's really
fill
cool.
date, harvest date, fill proof, and then harvest proof. I love that. I love everything about that. The more information. Now, listen, we've talked to a lot of guests. I mean, stats don't mean everything. The thing that matters is what it tastes, right? I mean, you can put all the stats on there and it can be gaudy as you want to have the highest age statement, high proof, and it doesn't taste good. It's no good. So if it tastes good, that's all that really matters. But I love that you do put a lot of information on there for people to at least see and get to understand.
I think
where
transparency is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's great that you guys do that.
Oh man,
Tony or Joe, Todd wants to know what your Prius smells.
I don't have a Prius. Although I was driving my dad's car today. It was a Buick. It looks like a clown car. Yeah, it was.
And then Jay said Andy will be there at Old Line, but Todd will need permission to go.
I will be there. Don't worry. I think we're hoping. Yes, we love Old Line. We want to do more things with Old Line, and why not? Right?
Yeah. No, we'll have conversations. Don't worry. Last week I punched you in the leg. I don't want to do that this year.
That is true. That is true.
Okay. Can we? This is really good.
How good is that?
This
right?
is fantastic.
That's why I stopped on. I drank it so quick. You always say that. I drink half of it and I stop. I do that a lot.
Yeah, he drinks like half of it, like 2 days.
I do.
Like
I go crazy.
Goes
I'm afraid of like losing it. I don't want to lose good whiskey, and it's gone. And will you do these again, like throughout the year? Will this happen?
Absolutely. Okay. Like that one, obviously, that one.
Not happened, but other single barrels. So
100%. Yeah, that is going to become a much more common thing. We haven't quite settled into the rhythm of it yet, but it's on the way. Yeah.
Nice.
It's really
nice. Good. It's so, again, I got it. I was like, yeah, I mean, listen, if you're a bourbon drinker or just a whiskey drinker that's not Yes, it's got single malt characteristics that I love, but I'm telling you, I don't know how you could see this and say like, oh, long finish. There is some spice to it on the end, which I love.
I think it's something you got to try. Even if you're on the fence, try it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I mean, the stuff is really, really good.
Yeah, it's got a lot of. I love the chocolate characteristics on this. Oh man, that finish though.
When he starts chewing, Mark,
sorry.
that means he really likes it. He starts making like noises and he goes, he starts chewing. That means he likes it. He's
so real quick, out there in our chat, 55 people, 57 people watching. Have you ever, just yes or no, have you ever had Old Line? I'm curious. I want to see if people are watching this. Have you had Old Line before? Just a simple yes or no answer. Let us know. And I'm curious because I know we have some that are local. So like I know for a fact, Joe Graves and if Eric's here, they've had it. But I know there's some people that are outside of here that maybe have not experienced this. Devin is a Patreon member. No. Mr. Great Shot, not yet.
Well, this is good. I actually
James helped with the Yep.
But I like seeing this because all these no's I want to turn into yeses.
Yes.
Guys, the reason sometimes we have these guests on is not just fun. Like, hey, let's bring some. We've been fans of Old Line for a really long time. We wouldn't want to work with a group unless we really kind of backed it. Kind of the way we feel about Still Austin and Sagamore. We feel that way about Old Line. So look at Anthony Peters says I own like 7 bottles. That's awesome, man.
All right, let me just go through them. Highlight. You can see Ken's dead.
So we're gonna turn some of these no's into yeses.
I think inevitably it should be a 21090 single barrel pick from Old Line.
We'll talk.
I think it should happen.
He's drinking again.
I am drinking.
He's drinking
right,
again.
Mark. I mean, come on. All these people, they need to have something from us that we can work on. I mean, I'm just telling you.
Hey, whenever you guys are ready, we're ready. We love it. No pressure from us, but we're there when you
don't say anything yet, Mark. I just want to hit him first because I told him not to say anything.
I can't help it.
And I said I was going to hit him. He's getting squeezed. No, I'm not going to hit him. I think, there could be something on the horizon. Hey, now, what do you think about us doing a broadcast live from Old Line?
Oh, love it. Absolutely.
There you go.
I think that backdrop and us sipping on some stuff, and we could have a good time. That'd be fun.
We can get in some trouble out here, I think, in a good way. Because I have the keys to the warehouse.
Oh, you hear that, Andy?
That's right. We're good.
Is there a couch? I think there is couches.
Will you get permission to get out?
Actually, yeah, one for each of you.
I can just sleep.
Todd is actually allowed out within a 8-mile radius.
They are
and I think you fall that category.
Yes, so I am allowed out. Yeah, they are within the confines of where I can go. It's great.
Got like a little compass, and they can draw an 8-mile circle around.
Yes, sir. It's really good.
So he's fine. Now we want you guys to try some of this Old Line stuff. So yes, if someone's going to walk away with a full bottle of the bottle of bond, which is just killer, and some other samples. You know what I'm going to throw in, Todd?
What are you going to throw in?
I've been dying.
What?
I'm taking her out. This is my baby, the port. This,
we haven't tried that yet.
No, and I've been dying to sip on this again.
Let's have that should be our ending pour.
Oh, it's so good.
Do you still have it at anywhere around a port anywhere?
I have a port. I don't have the barrel pick you're talking about, but I have a port finish here.
Let's finish this bottle when I come live. When we'll come to you. We'll bring this with. We'll pour this around. We'll make sure it doesn't go to waste. How's that sound?
I will never say no to that. And
plus, I have
the next best thing, and I'll go with my closest bourbon.
There you go. So that will be in the giveaway, an Old Line bottle and bond full bottle, and a bunch of we have a lot here.
I do have another backup to this at home too. So I didn't. I told you I went and bought a case.
Let me ask you: when you first tried this, what did you love about this so much? He's Italian. If you can't tell, sometimes you might think he's from other areas, but he's Italian and he loves port. Yeah, your wife is. I know, but your wife is from Portugal, so you drink a lot of port wine.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you love this so much?
No.
Tell us why. That's why I was asking. Thank you, Scott, for the super chat.
Port wine is bold. If you ever go and sip on a port wine, it's got very, very, it's very thick. It's got a lot of very bold kind of in your face flavors.
Well, dark fruits too, right? I mean, big time dark fruits.
Yes, but I think it plays really well as a finish for whiskey in general.
Okay.
But I think it works especially well in a single malt category. I really do. I think, and I think at this point, because I've had the look, I love the port 100 proof that you put out the Double Oak series. That was great, but this worked at the 124 proof. I think that is what it is. It was perfect. It was one of the best whiskeys I've ever tried. Period, hands down. I've tried thousands of whiskeys. This is one of the best I've ever had. And wow. I can't tell you anything other than when you sip it, and it just speaks to you. I said this just had everything I liked in a whiskey.
I will say this,
and it was gorgeous.
Mark, we've tried a lot of whiskey, as everybody in this chat has. I know, and I've drank a lot of whiskey with this guy. I've grown up with this guy for 45 years, and I don't think I've ever heard him talk about a whiskey as much as he has this one. I'm not kidding. We've had, Elijah Craig single barrels that we or batch proofs that we loved. We've had old cars that we've loved. You have not talked about a whiskey like you've talked about this whiskey. I think
I've never bought more of one whiskey in my life.
Well, I think that goes hand in hand.
Ever. This is before I knew who Mark and Arch were.
That's true.
I just said, I don't care who those guys are. I want that shit. That's really good. Like I just said,
agree.
Please let me get. And I went back and I bought more. And then I would go back again and I'd say, all right, I'll try this single barrel from you guys. And I'll take another port. Man, I'll get this. I just, it was that good.
I know.
It was amazing.
Real quick, not the side tell, but Still Austin, their single barrel, their Bell and Bond spring release, the rye came out. Mark's got it. Says it's quite good, by the way.
No, we should be getting that soon.
Yeah, we will. There you go. Anyway, sorry.
I love Still Austin. They're Chris Seals from Still Austin. I've known him since day one of this.
Nice.
What a wonderful person and a great company, and they make great whiskey.
Yeah,
we got a single barrel rye coming out there.
Yes.
The very first single barrel rye that they're doing with the whiskey super we've got coming out. We will bring that with you when it's released too. We can drink that over at Old Line.
Well, I have something I want to get for you too. I have to go up to New York. We do a decent amount up in Rochester and Buffalo, and there's an account in Rochester that did a only ruby port barrel we ever did.
Oh,
I liked it a lot better than I thought I was going to do. And so when I'm up there in a few weeks, I'll buy a bottle and bring it back down, and I want you guys to have that to see what you think.
Awesome.
All right, there you go. There you go. I like Mark Emenecker. He talked about how I don't bring it up, and I'm going to make you mad, but I highlight his comment.
What comment is that?
Mark, he said, Old Line live stream while doing a pick in a warehouse with full access. Think of the content for our Patreon members.
Guys, we got the wheels are turning, and if you get Todd drunk enough before I hit him, he might spill beans. We have ideas, so we're gonna leave it at that. And you're gonna leave it at that.
Here we go. Anthony says the single port finish single barrel remains my favorite Old Line release. Andy, let's sip. Look what he's saying, Anthony.
I agree 100% with Anthony. This is smell that. What, I like it.
That is. Whew, give me a second.
We've got more port barrels here for us to get to poke around and see whenever you guys want.
Gosh, Andy, could you imagine your own port barrel single barrel? Port single barrel.
This nose is glorious. It just
the base. Oh, sorry, the base of the single malt. That sort of cacao nuttiness, and then you put on all those decadent port. I mean, how long is this? Was this aged in the port barrels?
I can tell you right here, buddy. Remember, transparency is everything.
I mean,
unfortunately, I'm blind.
It's got to be. It's really dark. That bottle is so dark. It has to be at least a year, right? It has to be.
It was aged for.
Look how dark that bottle is.
A year in the White Oak 20 port barrels. Yeah,
there you go. It has to be a year.
Mm-hmm.
And all those jammy goodness notes that are in there on the nose.
Take a sip of that. Stop talking. This is so good.
We had a great pick. Philadelphia Whiskey Society did a pick of this as well. That was really, really. They called it the Jammer, which is their nickname.
It makes sense.
Great pick.
Done.
Yeah, here's the thing. What's the proof on that?
I think it's $1.24.
You got to be kidding me.
No,
that's crazy. Because that drinks that is so.
Oh, it's so
the
good.
Sweetness from that port. It's big bold, but there is a sweetness to it. That those dark fruits. It's even a little bright to me as well, which is crazy.
Honestly, my favorite whiskey probably of all time, because I've had.
I told you,
but I've had so many of these. Like I go back and think about what could I put up there and rival this. I mean, it was my whiskey of the year 2 years ago. And I mean, it still remains. I mean, it's such a good whiskey. It's just,
it's great.
That's
so.
I appreciate that.
Not to wrap things up. What is next then for Old Line? Like, are we? I know the rise coming. Is there just continued of sort of these interesting finishes and putting out quality single malts, or expanding distribution, or what do we got? What's next for Old Line?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for us, a big part of kind of in the theme of a lot of what we talked about today is that the category is still so new. Mm-hmm. That a big part of our focus is what we never want to stray from is just consistently putting out the 95 proof, the 114. Those always have to be consistently top notch and get out there and get in the market. So a big part of what we do is just getting those out there. We're dialing in our finishes on which ones are the most have the best longest legs on them. So the port, the sherry, the Madeira, things like that. The rye whiskey will be a wonderful project that we'll continue to do. That's going to be a small part of our business, but something fun and different. But really, it's continuing to grow what we have, and then we will dip our toe into some blending. That's probably the next thing that is this is probably the first time I've actually mentioned it really outside of the distillery. And there's no specifics on that yet, but it's something that we've determined that it's art, and when I say blending, I don't necessarily mean a blended whiskey in the Scotch sense. It might be still a single malt whiskey, but blending of different barrels, different finishes, different ages. So blending I think is kind of the next frontier for us to really step into.
Achieve a different flavor profile, I guess, not to be consistent with what you're doing for the Bottle and Bond or the 140. It's a different blend to get a different flavor profile, I assume, right? Is that what you're looking for in that?
100%. It would be, kind of start with the end in mind, and whether we end up where we thought we were going to is a different question. Right. But start with the end in mind, and just take, all these assets that we have here. These, for example, we have Naranja barrels, we have the stout, all these different things that are really cool and interesting, and they're just a wonderful palette of colors, so to speak, that you can work with to really pull together that sleigh ride.
There it is. Yes. Thank you, Mark.
Don't encourage him.
Yes,
Mark.
that sleigh ride on your tongue. I agree.
Don't encourage him.
And what a sleigh ride it is.
All right. So, question for you. I always love asking this question. You can take 5 CDs with you on a deserted island.
CDs. There's a thing of the past.
CDs, whatever. Okay, or albums, whatever it is. You got your bottle of Old Line, a couple bottles to get you through the days. What are you listening to? Give me 5 CDs.
All right. Well, I'm gonna reuse my Dire Straits.
Hell yeah.
Is gonna be there. Let's see. Bruce Springs. What's the album that had Badlands on it?
I don't know, but yes.
Starting on the Edge of Town. That's what I take. That. The Pogues.
Who's the Pogue? I don't know that. Do you know the Pogue?
Oh, they're like an 80s punk Irish band. Oh,
nice. Where's 4-Leaf Eater?
We're gonna play some Pogues. Rum, Sodom, and Lash. The Pogues are like a.
Did we play that when we had 4-Leaf Whiskey? We did. We played that. We played them. We had 4-Leaf Whiskey as an Irish whiskey channel. Stacy, we love her. She came on. We drank Irish whiskey, and we were talking. One of the things we do our live streams a lot is music, and we were doing all Irish music, and the Pogues came up. That what you just said. What was that song you just said?
Well, the album was Rum, Sodom, and Lamb.
That's what it was. Yes.
When you guys are here, we'll put some Pogues on. It's not the heart, but I feel like you guys can easily hack it. And I got 2 more to go.
Wow, you're doing better than most. This is great.
Yeah, you're doing really good.
Oh man, well, I hope so. This is out now. This is set in stone now.
That's right.
Beggar's Banquet, Stones.
Oh, hell
nice.
Yes.
And I got throw something different out here.
Come on now.
All right.
You're on an island.
You know what? I got one. Honky Chateau, Elton John. Just gonna throw stuff out.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Andy would just take 5 Def Leppard albums, and that would be it.
But albums I can listen from beginning to end and enjoy every moment of it.
Well, then I'm surprised Pyromania or Hysteria wasn't on. I'm just.
I gotta be educated. I've overlooked. There's a genre that I've kind of overlooked a bit. So
we're gonna change it. You can bring. You know what? We'll listen to it. Was the Pogues? Is that what you said?
Pogues.
And then I'll bring some spins for you with some
Def Leppard, Kicks, and Jackal, and.
Well, 2024, we have Spotify, so you don't have to bring anything. We can just pull it up on the computer.
That's a good call too.
We may not ever go home, Andy.
I'll sleep on the couch.
All right, last chance, guys. We've got the Old Line Bottle and Bond full bottle, plus a bunch of samples that include the sherry finish that's coming out this Saturday, guys. If you're in the area, go out and hit over.
I'm going to throw in a sample of the port that is my favorite of all time because it's just that freaking
Andy's
good.
favorite whiskey of all time, guys. This is it.
And I hate giving that away, by the way.
But you have like 2 more bottles.
I don't care. I hate giving it away. It's
do.
It's that good. It's
good
amazing.
Lord, what a jerk you are. All right, bring up that beautiful wheel. We will have a Patreon giveaway next as well. Should we do that?
No, I don't know. Because Top Gun soundtrack. Here we go.
Top Gun.
I was thinking about that too. If we, you would be Goose.
Why? Because Why is that? Why is that, Andy? Why? Tell me why that is.
Because you're expendable.
Because he dies. Because he dies. By the way, the most recent Top Gun was. I loved it. By the way, Mark
was good.
Mark probably is like, I hate those movies because I actually watched it, and these are all bullshit. But you know,
oh, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right, there you go.
It was. I was on a podcast called it's actually cool guys called the Film and Whiskey Podcast, and I hadn't. This was like months after it came out. I hadn't seen it yet, and I didn't see it coming. They're like, "All right, so we got to talk about the movie," and I'm like, "Sorry guys, I haven't seen it." Like they didn't expect that. It was
because you were a pilot, right? Yeah, you had to see it.
I was Goose. So I was expendable too.
Oh, Andy, you hear that?
Look, JG Todd is definitely Goose. Well,
he's certainly not Maverick though. You're the guy who like helped us down. You're definitely not Maverick. If I'm Goose, you're not Maverick. You wouldn't fit in the front seat. You would not fit in the front seat. I'm just saying. That's all.
No, see, you hit eject, I'd get stuck. I'd still live. You'd be done. You know what? You'd be gone.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my
goodness
god.
gracious. How do we get to this point?
I don't know, but I'm going to give away for Patreons in a second, guys. We're at the 95 Patrons. Mark, you might like this. When we get to 100 paid Patreon members, we're going to give away.
Yeah, this is from Justin.
From Justin and George.
The Mountain. I know that well.
Yeah, it's the 14-year-old rye whiskey. It's not even opened. One of our favorite whiskeys we've ever had. It's a rye whiskey, 14-year-old MGP juice. We're 5 away from 100 paid Patreon members. We have well over 120 Patreon members, but not paid. So once we get there, and you guys will be on a special list that will have certain benefits once we get to 100. You'll be the OG list. We just need 5 more. So if you're not a Patreon member, guys, consider joining. But Andy, you got the wheel ready to give away the super chat giveaway for tonight.
Yeah, we can do that. Your odds are good tonight, which is
very good.
Which
all
is
right,
great.
let's do it. Let's see who wins.
Some good stuff. All right, let me pull this up.
Okay.
Present. Let me see. Share screen.
1 in 10 million Patreons. That's right, Commandante Lou. There it is.
Here we go.
All right, guys. This is for the Old Line Bottle and Bond and a bunch of samples, including the sherry, the port, and whatever else we can fit into a sample glass for you guys.
All right, we're going to pull this up. If you can see that is Todd as Alanis Morissette. We got all kinds of good stuff to show you. All right, let's pull this up. Let's get ready to spin that wheel. Are you ready, Toddrick?
Yes.
Shuffle, 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 spin. And then Todd Morissette's going around. Boy, you are ugly.
I am ugly.
Let me see.
Fifth quarter.
Fifth quarter going to win this one.
Fifth quarter. Scott Pigsley.
Well done. There we go. He's doing something front of the line. Well done. Well done,
Scott Pigsley.
And it is fantastic. You're getting some good stuff tonight. So that's what James loves the Old Line. Yep. Good stuff.
Hey, James. I didn't know you were on there, man.
Oh, he knows James.
No, there you go.
There you go.
So
we don't, but James, thanks for watching, and we're here every week.
It's a cheap plug from Todd. This is why you're Goose.
Congrats, Scott. There he is. That's right. You should do 2. We should do 2. Well, we don't have 2 bottles to give away. I do have a bottle for patrons to give away, Andy.
What's that?
It's the Armagnac finish. It's almost, I've drank a quarter of it. So it's the most full bottle I have. It's the Old Line. This is the Armagnac. The Armagnac.
Are we doing another one?
Let's do it. All right. A fantastic finish.
All right, you know the drill. Put the
guys.
number...
If you're a Patreon member, hit a number 1 and let's go. Let's give away the Armagnac.
All right, just read them to me there, Beavis.
I will start reading, guys. Sample packs.
If I miss any names, because Goose doesn't know how to read. So there's.
All right, JG.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Emacher.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Great Shot.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap, that went really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a second. I gotta go back.
You're gonna screw this up, aren't you?
Nope. Slap Shots.
Mm-hmm.
Gandhi Road.
Mm-hmm.
Alec, ALEC.
Yep.
Barrel Dave.
Hey, Barrel.
Richie Z.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Shea.
Yep.
JAC. Saucy Shane. Joe Graves. Devin. Kathy Graves.
Hi, Kathy.
Yeah, it's good to see Kathy still watching us. Lou.
I miss Kathy. She doesn't like
Fifth quarter tailgate going for the double dip. That would save me on shipping. Z-Man.
You're the worst. What else?
Michael Dow. Jonathan or Giselle's. Just say put Giselle's.
Hold on.
Giselle's. Oh, there's Whiskey Wars. Good to see you, Sean. Good to see you, Sean.
Who's after Giselle's?
Just Whiskey Wars. And I think, guys, last chance for Patreon members for the Old Line Armagnac cask finish. And that's it. I think we've going once, going twice. If you're not a Patreon member, now's a great time to join. We've got big barrel picks this year. All right,
Beavis. Here we go.
Let's give that away.
Pull that up.
All right, guys. Here's your second chance.
Stupid face again.
I know. You need to change that.
No, it's kind of funny. Shuffle, spin. There we go. Who's going to win this beautiful bottle of Old Line?
I don't know. Let's see.
Where is Barrel Dave, or is it Giselle's? It is Barrel Dave. Oh, well done, Barrel Dave. Congratulations. All right, there you go.
So, Andy, what did we learn tonight?
Well, A,
yes,
Old Line is awesome.
Correct.
B, Mark thinks that Joe Flacco's elite, and he's right. C,
I don't think he said that.
He did say that.
Okay.
C, we need to introduce him to more Def Leppard because he's not quite versed enough yet, but that can change.
Okay. All right.
And D, there could be some more good stuff collaboration-wise between 21090 and Old Line.
Guys, do you want that? Do you want more Old Line? Do you want 21090?
You need it in your life. We're gonna. If Todd's allowed to go 6.5 miles from his house, we're gonna broadcast live at some point.
It's actually 8.5, but it's okay.
That's maybe outside your range.
No, I have a 10-mile radius.
He'll get spousal permission. We'll see what we can do. If not, I'll go hang out with the guys and we'll have a good time.
Learn with a single man. That's funny. That's hilarious. Anyway, hashtag wrong. I'm sorry, Lou. Sorry, Lou. I'm sorry. All right, guys. Super excited about what Old Line. Mark, any last words? That we appreciate all you're doing for the whiskey community and hopping on with us. Hopefully, you had a good time.
I had a fantastic. Loved it. Thank you so much for having me. Just I can't thank you enough. I got nothing else to say, but just thank you.
Pleasure's ours, man. We appreciate it. All right. So, hey, don't jump out. Stick with us for a second, Mark. We'll talk to you after the show, if you don't mind. But in the meantime, Mark, if you didn't know.
Oh, there you go. Cheech is going live, guys, tonight at, I guess, 11 maybe. I think he goes live. So go over to Whiskey Encore.
We'll do a little 21090 raid. But in the meantime, Mark, if you didn't know why Todd sucks, I'm going to let you know as we leave this.
Awesome.
So thank you, Mark. See you guys next week.
Cheers, guys.
And I'm getting really sick of guys named Todd. You know, it's just a goofy f***ing name, okay? Hi, what's your name? Todd. I'm Todd. And this is Blake and Blair and Blaine and Brent. Where are all these goofy boys' names coming from? You want to hear a real name? Eddie. Eddie is a real name. Whatever happened to Eddie? He was here a minute ago. Joey and Jackie and Johnny and Phil, Bobby and Tommy and Danny and Bill. What happened? Todd and Tucker. Hi, Tucker. I'm Todd. Hi, Todd. I'm Tucker. Soft names make soft people. I'll bet you anything that 10 times out of 10, Nicky, Vinny, and Tony will beat the shit out of Todd, Kyle, and Tucker. Here are some more men who ought to be strapped to a gurney and castrated with fishing knives. White guys who shave their heads completely bald. You know? They're so ashamed they lost 11 hairs, they're going to try to turn it into some kind of a masculine statement. I say, hey, you goofy-looking, baldy-headed Looks good on black guys. On you, it's ugly, repulsive, and disgusting. You want to be bald? Do what I did. Wait a while. Yeah. Meantime, there's no excuse.